Okay, welcome to the live stream, ladies and gentlemen. And there is outrage today right across the UK as to what has just been announced for UK pensions. Now, we talked about this a little bit during the week where we talked about some of the things they were looking to do to your pension if you're in the UK. But now they've really doubled down, and I mean, this has caused a lot of backlash. People are furious, people are outraged. A number of MPs, politicians have also come out to speak against this. And this is just crazy. So let's go over it. There's a lot to go over today as well. So some of these articles, let's just start with the first one then. UK plans to force nations' pension plans to invest in private markets. So this is one of the proposals. First of all, they said, as always, it's voluntary. They said, oh, it's voluntary, you won't have to do it. But now that this sort of survey came back where most of the pension funds, the banks and all these other institutions said we don't want to be forced to only invest domestically. Well, now there's a leaked memo showing that they are going to attempt to force pension plans to only invest in UK assets because it's, as always, the same thing. It's the right thing to do. It's more equitable for everybody. You know, all this usual stuff. So the UK said it plans to require the country's pension funds to invest in private markets and the domestic economy. We're going to link this to this new article. Look at that. Look at that for a face. She looks happy, doesn't she? We're going to link this to this new article, this new announcement they've made that they found all this extra money. Oh, have you indeed? You found all this extra money for spending on roads and bridges and everything else? No, if you correlate the amount that they found and you look at the pension amount that they're talking about, it's pretty much the same. You can't really hide it. The numbers are so similar. So it's been opposed by investment managers, financial advisors, the pension plans themselves. The government will take a reserve power in the pension schemes. What? So they're going to be overseeing this partially as well. Oh my goodness, it gets worse. This is to schemes built to set binding asset allocation targets for investments in private markets. The Treasury has just announced. It will also secure £27.5 billion for local investment priorities. We'll link that in a moment. This is the bit that's a bit weird. It says, from defined benefit programs for public employees. But anyway, let's just take a step back a moment because, yes, I know they pledged in their manifesto that they were going to do more spending and infrastructure and everything else and get more investment. But that was external investment, remember? Again, they're changing it. They're saying, oh, this is what we promised you at the start. So obviously you want this, don't you? Well, no, they promised investment into the UK externally. And we'll come on to this in a moment as well. We've got a lot to go over. I've got to link it all together because if you look at these individually, you might not connect all of these dots. I'm going to connect the dots for you as to what's going on. The Labour government, which took power in July, has been seeking to deliver on its pledge to boost private investment and economic growth. Yes, but it wasn't from people's pensions. In May, so this month, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, refused to rule out mandating that pension funds allocate money to UK assets. The prospect of being compelled to do so has caused unease among investment managers. Chief executive officers have signed. There's a massive petition going on. They're speaking out against this, and they're talking about the fiduciary duties. If you haven't heard of that term before, fiduciary duties, it basically means that the things you have to do have to be in the best interest of those who you serve. So this usually, pension funds, financial advisors, etc. It's not always the case. I've given you the example before where I've had clients that come to me and say, yes, but Neil, I'm so shocked that you think this is a bad allocation that my financial advisors put together for me. And I would say, well, how much did you pay them for this? Oh, nothing, it was free. Well, okay, think about this logically. If it's free and they don't have a fiduciary responsibility to you, you have plan A and plan B. Plan A is the best for you, but plan B pays them a massive commission. Which do you think they're going to put you in? And again, I'm just giving a sort of broad example there. Obviously, I've got tens of thousands of financial advisors who watch my channel. I know most of you are good, but there are some really dodgy ones out there. So that's what it means, that they have a fiduciary responsibility, these pension funds do, and the government is trying to override that by passing a new law that says, well, actually, you've got a responsibility to us as the government as well. We've got a responsibility to the people. You've got the money in these pension pots and we need that money. It's exactly the same play that the European Union did recently, where I did that video that just went crazy all over them. In fact, I've still seen that video being shared on X today around what they were doing with people's savings. It's just insane. On Thursday then, this was yesterday, the government also confirmed plans to pull roughly £1.3 trillion of people's retirement, this is what it says, of people's retirement savings into a series of mega funds. The bill is expected to be introduced to Parliament before the summer recess. Okay, so you know exactly what to do. Get on to your MP right away if you've got a decent one. Write in, do whatever you need to do, but probably the best thing to do is march in the streets, protest, do whatever you're going to do. This is crazy. They're going to be taking your pension pot, which is empty anyway, most of them. They're going to be using it to, because of what we talked about, this inverted pyramid. Now there's not enough workers to support the retirees due to an aging population, not enough births, etc., etc. So they're going to be taking what's left and using it to fund everything. It's crazy. It's absolute madness. And that's why I always say to you, now you're probably wondering, why has he got all this on here? Is this these chocolate coins? No, this is real coins. We've got some real, we keep talking about gold and silver at the moment. Gold, silver, this is the stuff. Sovereigns, half sovereigns, 1 ounces. I even picked up some really beautiful pieces actually recently. So we've got a peace dollar here. We've got some US stuff. This one is, gosh, this is very, very old coin. It's incredible silver coin. I've been using it for the new gold and silver course that I'm making for you. It's actually, you got the next modules coming out, and then we'll come back to this because this is crucial. Just real quick, the next modules are coming out then, module 4 and 5 tomorrow. So I know there's a lot of you already in the program and you've asked when the next ones are coming out. 4 and 5 are being released tomorrow morning, so that's understanding the psychology behind precious metal demand, and that will sort of allow you to actually understand exactly when to buy, and then using gold to silver to build long-term wealth security within your pension allocations, or even holding it physically, whatever you prefer to do. So we still got a lot to go through. The modules, gosh, we've got 13 modules just on the foundational course, and you've probably got 15 modules or more on the advanced course. We've got some more experts flying in next week who I'll be interviewing, everything from pensions to mining stocks to streamers, hedge fund guy coming in. I mean, you've got worries about any of your finances, you won't after this program, trust me. So the link is below, and it's still 90% off during the pre-filming before it goes up. Okay, enough of that. Let's carry on with this. Labour accused of unleashing a stealth tax on pensions. So what else are they doing there? They're about to unleash a stealth tax on pensions. This is, a number of people have come out and talked about this. This was also laid out in the Treasury's Pension Investment Review, which was just published. And this said that there's a huge risk of lower returns for savers. A number of MPs have called the plans a massive stealth tax, and that savers are about to get lower returns. So the government's going to use people's money in order to reduce its own borrowing costs, because it knows that, debt spiral we talked about. Someone else said the move was an extraordinary overreach to go into people's savings accounts and in effect take their money or borrow the money. They're just not going to return this money. It's obvious. If they had the money, they would use it, but they haven't. So they're going to borrow it, and then the debt's going to keep going higher. So if they can't pay it back today, how are they going to pay it back later? Labour's crossing into the Rubicon, into the public savings. This is theft. Pension pots are there to secure retirements, not to bankroll a government, said the Shadow Chancellor. The threat of the government telling trustees how they should invest was a step too far, and this risks losing sight of the primacy of member interest. This is an outrage. Another person has said, someone else has labelled the power to dip into pension schemes and tell them how they should invest is a deep concern to all of us. Publication of the review follows the news this week that HM Revenue and Customs is exploring plans to tax pension contributions as well, made via salary sacrifice work schemes. If implemented, the changes would cost the average earner more than £500 a year in extra income tax and national insurance. This will whittle away their pension pot and their retirement potential, and it also won't give you that compound interest that we talk about so much. The idea is it compounds, that it beats inflation. That is not where it's looking to go. We have more though. Pension holders, this is the latest review of the next budget. They're saying then that these schemes are going to affect around half of UK employers, and this is just the first wave. Enable employees to forgo part of their salary. Yeah, we just covered that. They want to remove both income tax and national insurance relief. They've calculated this will cost you around £35,000 for your pension. One possibility could involve restricting the tax-free lump sum available on retirement as well. So, ladies and gents, they are just going all out right now. Another option would be to standardise tax relief on pension contributions. The government has indicated it wants to reform ISAs as well. This is your individual savings accounts to... Wait, did I miss a bit there? Oh yeah, okay. They want to... Yeah, you don't need to know that. Ministers and finance industry leaders have previously expressed concern that people are not getting high enough returns from their savings, whether in a pension or a separate investment account. So their idea is to reduce the annual tax-free allowance for cash ISAs from £20,000 to £4,000. Let me read that again. £20,000 to £4,000. That is staggering. That's an 80% drop. With the aim of encouraging savers to invest in the stock market instead to stimulate economic growth and enhance returns for individuals. No, because most people are not educated on how to invest in the stock market. They're not. I know a lot of you have taken my stock market course, but most people have never taken any training on this. They are not going to be able to do this. They're actually going to lose money. This is so foolish. It says here, almost all banks polled have expressed opposition to the idea. Well, yeah, of course they're going to, because the banks get to hold that money and use it and just lend it out, although it doesn't really work that way in this modern age. The reserve ratio doesn't quite work like that. But yeah, the banks get to use this money for free. They give you almost nothing in interest and they loan it out at 5%. Of course they're opposed to it. There's another crazy proposal though, and they want to charge national insurance on rental properties or VAT. So if you're a landlord, VAT on residential letting properties, or put you into a higher tax band for rental income. Again, they're just going after everything they possibly can. You're going to get more landlords leaving the rental sector, and then the rental sector is going to get even worse. You're going to get rogue landlords, because this is what you're seeing now. You're seeing this massive wave of rogue landlords, cash and everything else. I don't know. This is just going to get this is going to get wild. You're going to see a lot more. A friend of mine just did an investigation into some of these houses where someone moves into the house and they're, usually from a different country where people don't live 2 or 4 to a house. And he did an investigation. Some of them got 30 people just living in these houses. It's absolutely crazy. You're going to get a lot more of that. All cash, all paid to the landlords, who are usually a bit dodgy as well. I mean, this is just unbelievable what they're doing. They also want to go after, remember I gave you a little tip a while ago, in that if you want to leave gifts to your children, you should probably think about doing it now, and I explained how you do that, because they want to go after the £325,000 limit that you can leave behind, the inheritance tax. They want to go after that as well now and reduce that £325,000 limit. They haven't said to what, but that's what they're looking to do. So you want to look at that, because they're also going to look at gifts, it says. Yeah, they're looking at changing the rule for gifts made before death. Wow. Okay, let's continue on then. So, yep, she has announced billions in regional spending. Where's this money coming from? Oh, what a mystery. We don't know. They found, I love it when they use that word, we found additional money for all of this infrastructure. They're going to be spending it on energy, road schemes. Okay, what does that mean? Does that mean roads, or does it mean like ULEZ schemes, or these schemes around, you know, putting more restrictions on roads? I don't know. It says road schemes, which concerns me. And rail outside of London and the southeast. They say that the London southeast is already well developed. They want to develop other areas. Well, there's usually a reason that certain areas are more developed than others, and that's because there's supply and demand. If there's a demand, you create a supply. That's what entrepreneurs do. So what exactly they're planning to do, I have no idea, but it's a little bit worrying, a little bit concerning. Next one then. Okay, let's talk about this first, and then we'll go on to the big listing. No, actually, let's talk about that. Okay, this is another one. This is huge. This is enormous. So the UK was, the government, the Labour government, was willing to forego all the usual checks that they have to do when they do arrangements with countries. You know, this is things like modern slavery and, you know, all the, you know, slavery, you know, all this sort of stuff. So they forego all of this because they wanted to get this listing on the the London Stock Exchange, and it's now backfired. Okay, so they were meant to get this £50 billion stock market listing, and it's been lost. So this was the Shein company, which, if you haven't heard of it, Chinese company, absolutely massive, really dominating the space. Not somewhere, I've got to say, I've never bought anything from them myself, but I know what they do. They do sort of cheap clothing, gets delivered very quickly. So what has actually happened? They were absolutely begging. You remember Rachel Reeves went to Beijing, begging for this listing because they wanted this 50 billion sort of listing. Well, now the company has decided to list in Hong Kong instead. So the Labour government is furious. They've said it's a betrayal after they've done all this stuff for them. It's really just an absolute slap in the face. It's an embarrassment. So what did they forego? So firstly, there was the report on brutal working conditions. The government was willing to forego this. Poverty wages and environmental carelessness. Now, this doesn't mean like carbon emissions. It means how, if you've ever seen how clothing's made and it goes run off into the rivers and all the other stuff you see is nasty. Some of the pollutants and things from this industry. Well, they actually signed off on all of this and said, look, we're willing to forego this because we want the listing. And now it's gone elsewhere. Their sales last year were 38 billion, and it's been up 19% year on year. Profits of over 1 billion. The New York NASDAQ, and actually Donald Trump said they weren't willing to touch this. They didn't actually want it. The NASDAQ said they didn't want it because of the allegations of human rights abuses. So the UK regulators took a lot longer than usual to approve a potential IPO amid questions about the labour standards. There was even, we talked about that, anti-slavery, etc. But the UK government decided to sign it off. Reeves was happy to sign this off for the economic benefit. the number of companies listed in London has fallen from 2,400 a decade ago to 1,600 now. A lot of them as well are leaving for the United States because the rules are too strict in the UK. There's almost no IPOs to replace those leaving. There was only 18 listings last year, and that is also an 18% year on the fall earlier. So this is just dropping. The UK is not attracting any global companies at the moment. It hasn't in a long time. And then the non-dom rule that allowed foreign investors and foreign entrepreneurs to live in the UK and limit their tax liabilities is actually driving a lot of them abroad. We've had 3 more big ones leave this week. We've had the billionaire tech entrepreneur. He has just quit for Monaco, and he said he's taken his £6 billion with him because he did this really quickly before the government could say, oh, actually, you can't take all of this with you. We're going to put a tax on you. So he's just gone. The Richard Nod has, Goldman Sachs' most senior banker, he has just gone as well, taken his billions with him. Aston Villa Football Club co-owner has just left as well. Steel magnate Lakshmi Mittal has just left as well. They're taking billions with them. I mean, billions with a B. So this initial forecast that I said was bogus, that they were going to make an extra £10 billion a year in taxes from taxing the non-doms. I said, well, you remember what I said? It's not going to happen. These people are so rich, they can buy a passport anywhere in the world. They'll just leave and take their money with them. It's exactly what's happened. So now instead of having a £10 billion excess that they said they were going to get, they've now got a £12.2 billion black hole. These people are so stupid. It's unbelievable, the level of stupidity, that they just don't know this stuff. They can't figure it out. So they're not up 10 billion, they're down 12 now. It's madness. It's absolute madness. So this guy actually had a company. It was called checkout.com. And he ran it from his London headquarters full time. All the staff were in London as well. He started the firm in 2012, and he turned it into a fintech powerhouse worth almost £10 billion based out of the UK. Well, guess where this company is going to be going now? I mean, it's crazy, the stuff they're doing. Another one then, they've just signed this deal with the UAE and Saudi by the looks of things. This is looking to be worth about £1.6 billion. I haven't checked the figures myself, but they've said they've done this deal. It's going to be worth £1.6 billion, but it could be worth up to £8.6 billion in trade by 2035. So maybe they've done a good thing here. I mean, the jury's out at the moment, but they said it's going to benefit the car industry and the financial services industry by offering these services to people in the Middle East. But they said it's only going to be worth 0.1% of GDP, but not to focus on that. Why are we not focusing on that? I'm not exactly sure. Farmers are furious about this arrangement though, and you'll find out why in a second. The government has chosen to finalise this deal without publishing, again, human rights impact assessment. There's no commitments on the labour rights, on environmental standards, or allowing Parliament any scrutiny. Parliament were not allowed to actually look into this. I think it's obvious why. Ministers are also likely to face a backlash from the National Farmers Union over the agricultural aspects of the deal. They said that there's uncapped access for chickens that don't meet the strict hygiene standards that have just been enacted on British farmers, which is costing them a lot of money. Well, yeah, that's obvious. If you were a chicken farmer in the UK, you probably want to read into this and look at it very, very quickly, because you're not going to be able to compete with these prices from the Middle East if they don't have the same regulations that you have to adhere to. Yeah. Okay, couple last one then. The UK Office for National Statistics can no longer be trusted. This report has just come out. They said that they've come under scrutiny even from the government. The UK Statistics Authority as well have said that the statistics can't be trusted anymore. it makes me laugh because I think it couldn't be trusted all the way back to 2020, if you get my drift. The statistics they were coming out with. Another one, and this is a big one for jobs and wages. The UK jobs market is continuing to weaken, and it's declined yet again. It's actually quite a big decline. The increase in employer national insurance contributions have dropped quite heavily. Wage growth has slowed. The number of employees on company payroll dropped by 47,000 in March and another 33,000 in April. That's huge, ladies and gents. That is a lot of workers. So the vacancies now is 761,000 in the UK. So that's a huge, I mean, that drop, that is staggering actually. It's well over 5% drop just in one single month. So I think we can probably say that the changes to a lot of the things that they enacted with national insurance and wages and all the other stuff, it's obvious this has contributed to this decline, truly. And if you're worried about your pensions or you're worried about any of this stuff, you know, I'd just say start to look into it now. Make sure you're on the newsletter as well. If you haven't subscribed to the newsletter, it is out every Friday evening. It comes out, so just make sure to read the newsletter. You can get that below. And yeah, apart from that, investing course, the gold and silver. Start with the foundational one if you want. It's under $200, or you can just get the advanced one that isn't ready yet, under $300. Get your silver, get your gold. You know, get this stuff, the basics. Get your, you know, half sovereign, silver 1 ounce. This is the sort of basic stuff to begin with, and you know, begin with the physical stuff, small quantities, and build up from there. But yeah, thanks so much for being online today. Really appreciate you. Take care. God bless. We'll do a little walk and talk on Monday. And apart from that, check out the course, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. All right.